Here's one thing you need to know. The people who run these nations are at least 1,000 steps beyond everybody else. They can see further into space than they have told you. They know the intimacies about things that we take for granted. They know exactly what the sun is doing, what's influencing the sun. They know the fate of the moon. They know the fate of the moon. They also know that super expansion will soon take effect in our sun. You've been taught that that happens over millions of years. They have observed this happen within hours. Not millions of years, hours. They understand what's happening, but it's important that you understand so you don't lose your cool. When the red rain falls, I'm going to ask yourself this question. How many unfortunate individuals will think this red rain is harmless and will consume it? How many? And to be honest with you, they don't know what happens immediately with the ingestion of these cells into the human hosts. They don't know what happens. They do know it has a high concentration of uranium, which is radioactive, by the way, on the cellular walls, which can mutate your flesh within months. Within months. All of us, when this comes, when you see this red rain and listen, it's been falling. It's been very sporadic and remote, but it's been falling. Don't go in the rain. How many unfortunate people who don't understand this will step in the rain and slowly be consumed by it? You know, a lot of people say, well, the Lord's not going to allow that to happen. Listen, the Lord said, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. He said, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. This has happened and has been documented since 2000. In several cases, just about every single year this has happened. And I'm telling you, the people that were infected, they had a horrible fate. And the U.S. government wants nothing to do with it. If you ingest anything radioactive in high concentrations, you're going to get radioactive poison. That will be like you pitching up a camp right there at Fukushima. That's what will happen if you ingest this stuff. But the animals have been consuming the rain in these regions. And the cells are found within the core of meteorites that fall to Earth, within the core. And it has all three markers of red blood cells, but it does not have DNA. It doesn't have the traces of DNA. There's no DNA in it. If there's a phosphorus that's missing, once they test for phosphorus, and they don't see phosphorus, then they are inclined to believe that it's not an organism, but something else. It's not algae. They tested that against known forms of algae. It's not what it is. Now in the Bible, didn't it say, hail, fire mingled with blood? Didn't it say that? Hail, fire mingled with blood. Now you can understand. And I just wanted to be sure of the findings for myself before I said anything. So it's actual blood, not something that looks like blood. It's actual blood. And in fact, things without a phosphorus trace with no DNA is not supposed to replicate. Hail, from the altar in the heavens. Most of the meteorites you see it's made up of water, high traces of arsenic, but it's a liquid compound. Ice balls. They've also found ice balls with a crust of hard material on the outside, which means that if one of those were to enter our atmosphere and explode, the outer portion would explode, but the inner portion would simply spread out, and then you have large hail from explosion. Now, because the core of it is ice and the external portion is rock, it makes it through the first layer of the atmosphere, and then it explodes. And large stones, hailstones, start falling to Earth, because the rock will crack up. Well, if we go through a shower of this, well, there you go. And because these red blood cells are often found at the core of both ice and hard rock in iron meteorites, there you go. Now you have an issue and a problem. By the way, these cells replicate very fast. Not slow, they replicate very fast. So it's real blood we're talking about here. It's real blood. Many people don't know this, and when it begins, they're going to think it's, desert sand particles, which, by the way, are also red. If they're not alive, that has happened too. They've examined the water in certain places, and it had dust particles from the Arabian desert, but the red rain is totally different. It looks like blood. It looks like blood. And we all know we're about to experience this. And it does carry contagions. Blood can carry instructions for contagions. You see, but this cell has no DNA. The DNA is the instruction on how to replicate itself. It has no instruction. How in the world is it replicating? So, that's going to be an issue. We will experience it. We're certainly going to experience it. Those cells are not from Earth. All the living organisms that we know about have phosphorus in their DNA so they can replicate. Mayor, I think it is. Mayor says, is this the same as in the days of Egypt with Pharaoh and Moses when it rained? You know what? I think it is. I think it is. And I think God controls the timing of this. I think He sent harbingers, because every place this stuff has fallen, the people are rich in voodoo and other crazy stuff that they do. I think He's showing the world. That's why He told you to watch. He's showing the world exactly what He's going to do. And listen, the United States desires to keep you dumb about all these topics. The other countries know about this stuff. You don't know about this stuff. You don't know about it. Some of the places it rained red was desert dust. It was not the cells. But I'm talking to them. They had the blood cells in it. It was not from the dust. It had the blood cells. I mean concentrations, high concentrations of these cells. The dust storms we can track by weather patterns. This stuff, they had weeks of this stuff falling. There you go, signs. Uranium. And the United States won't touch the subject, though it's documented, and though they've already made things to combat it. Now, listen to me. Why would they make something to combat a contagion that spawned from uranium and these blood cells? Why would they make Why would they make something to protect themselves from the blood rain, yet they fail to acknowledge it? Don't be ignorant, folks. Don't be ignorant. It's Tatum, it has uranium on the outside. Uranium is radioactive. It's radioactive. And so it can, over time, begin to cause things. But I say this. I really do believe that everything is the Lord's doing. You'll be okay. Now, naturally, you take precautions. You don't go out there and tempt God by jumping into a fire and playing in it. So don't go out there and play with that stuff. If you see this stuff falling, go inside. Go inside, get away from it. Go wash your arms and stuff out. But listen, if it falls in concentrations within the United States, it's going to ruin water supplies. It will utterly ruin water supplies. Most of your bottled water coming from the Great Lakes and other places, ruined. Ruined. Beware of that, the red rain. The red rain. Because it's coming and it's real. You know, I like to give you precautions of things that people normally don't touch on. Well, there's not enough time, and the subject has to be, before you get someone a caution, you have to do your own investigation with some very real things. So you have to track down a lot of facts.